there acting like it. I'm glad, President Biden said something, but he's still not going hard enough, and he's still being delusional about how to stop this problem. Why does he think that the same people who are clearly for voter suppression would ever vote for the For the People Act or the John Lewis Voting Rights Act?
Good morning. We have a lot to cover on the Cross Connection, but we begin with, as you just saw, Charlemagne the God, who spoke for so many when he essentially said, "Talk is cheap, Mr. President." From coast to coast, GOP officials continue to introduce and pass laws that restrict voting access. And in response, Biden gave a speech on Tuesday that can effectively be translated as, "Please let the black and brown people vote. Please. Come on, guys." And look, I know a lot of you are saying, hey, we could still have Trump in office. Look, I know that. There's plenty of blame to go around. Let's not lose sight of the real enemy of democracy, the GOP. And nowhere is the gravity of the situation more evident than Texas, where Democratic lawmakers are fugitives after bolting the Lone Star State to block a restrictive voting bill. All week, the Dems on the run have been meeting with lawmakers right here in Washington, D.C., including filibuster fanboy Senator Joe Manchin. They also met with Vice President Kamala Harris. But without any kind of concrete action on the federal level, what good are these cute little meet and greets when this is what the lawmakers themselves are risking?
Once they step back into the state of Texas, they will be arrested and brought to the Texas Capitol, and we will be conducting business.
Joining me now is Jasmine Crockett, a Texas state rep and a civil rights attorney, and Cliff Albright, co-founder and executive director of Black Voters Matter. Jasmine, I want to begin with you. You're essentially a fugitive, as we said in the open. How long can this last? I mean, you can't live your life this way, and you cannot continue to risk arrest when you go home. What's your plan?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tiffany, for having me on this morning. I'd like to make sure that the viewers know that my governor is a little dramatic. I am not a fugitive. Besides doing civil rights work, I do criminal defense. I've not committed a crime by leaving the state as it relates to my official capacity as a state rep. The most that could happen is that I could be ushered back into the chamber, but no one is putting me in cuffs. No one is going to take any photos of me for a lineup or a bookend photo or anything like that. And if they do, we're going to have a whole other issue on our hands for attempting to incarcerate me. So that's number one. But you're right. We can't stay on the run forever. We are doing everything that we can that's within our power, and we want people in Texas to know that we're fighting for them. But we've passed the baton, and right now we need those on the federal level to fight for us. They are almost there, but they need to push it across the finish line, and that's what we're trying to employ them to do.
You are trying your hardest to employ them to do that. And Cliff, I sense your frustration, my friend. I saw your tweet this week when you essentially said, don't depend on organizers and activists for your legislative failures. And I love how you reference, this is not the Green Mile. We are not Bagger Vance. I think that's such a good point, considering who overwhelmingly delivered the power of the federal government to Democrats. As somebody who's on the front lines, what's your expectation of the federal government, and are they even trying to meet it?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tiffany. I think Charlemagne hit it exactly on the nose where you said, the president gave a good speech, but at the end of the day, we're not seeing the action. He can't reasonably think that there's going to be 10 Republicans that are going to vote for voting rights. And actually, that's the one point where I disagree with Charlemagne. I think he knows that there's not 10 Republicans that are going to vote for voting rights. I think he's just given up on the idea of modifying in any way the filibuster. And at the end of the day, that's what this discussion is really about. That's what our pressure has got to be. That's what we've got to do to best support Representative Crockett and the rest of the Texas Democrats and all of the Texas voters and all black and brown voters across the country. We've got to put all our efforts into ending this filibuster. You can't give a speech saying that voter suppression is the worst since the Civil War and that it's an existential crisis and then punctuate that speech by basically saying, but I'm not going to do anything to the filibuster. That's inconsistent, it's hypocritical, and we have got to push hard against that. And that's what we'll be doing all next week and throughout the rest of this summer.
It's a lot to ask of you. So I'll turn back to you, Representative Crockett, because you guys are putting a lot on the line by doing this. And again, there's a lot of frustration. I hear the people don't be too mad at Biden. We could have Trump in office. We understand all of that. But we sit at the epicenter of political power. We deserve to make demands. What is your demand of the federal government?
Man, listen, Tiffany, if we don't do something now, let me tell you, we won't have the majority. We will lose the majority in the House. We will lose the majority in the Senate. Right now, we're at a 50-50 split. We only got there because people got out in Georgia. And right now, honestly, it's a spit in every Georgian's face that did everything that they could in the middle of a pandemic to make it happen. We delivered the majorities. Here's the reality. In Texas, it's the complete opposite. The Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, and they also have the governor's mansion. And you see how far they're willing to go to do what's wrong. We're asking our lawmakers on the federal level that have the majorities in every single way to just do their part to make sure that they preserve democracy. This isn't even just about my state of Texas. This is happening everywhere. And I'm telling you, you can mark my words. If we don't get this right, we will not have the majority in the Senate because Republicans don't mind cheating to get what they want. We've seen that time and time again. We've seen their obstructionist behavior. And so I think that we should be pushing as strongly as possible to make sure that we get something done.
Yeah, I mean, Cliff, this is my fear. Republicans will take the House and the Senate. They will kill the filibuster in week one. And then good luck with passing any legislation. Good luck with getting a black woman confirmed to the Supreme Court. I mean, this is the dire straits. I want you to take a listen to Senator Joe Manchin after his meeting with the Texas Democrats.
Civil rights groups are asking for a carve-out for the filibuster for voting rights. Is that something that you could support?
Well, the bottom line is we should be working together on the whole, basically legislation that protects people's right to votes. That should be something that should be common sense. That people should have a right to vote that should be secured, and it should be accessible, and it should be fair.
Have you gained any Republican support?
We're getting some. We're getting there.
We're getting there, but let me tell you where Playboy was last night at a fundraiser in Texas hosted by who? Republicans. How do we handle the Manchin problem? Because, look, if he loses his seat, a Republican takes it over. Can we depend on getting someone else to flip the Senate, given the voter suppression laws? It feels like quite the catch-22. What's your thoughts, Cliff?
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep putting pressure on Manchin, and we have to do that both in terms of like pointing out the hypocrisy, like him going to Texas for that fundraiser. We've also got to support those groups that are in West Virginia, the people, the 79% of whom support the For the People Act. We got to continue to reach out to them and support them and help them to put pressure on their senator. But at the end of the day, we've also got to put pressure on Joe Biden. You cannot convince me that if Joe Biden came out as harshly as he came out against Facebook, he told Facebook that they're killing people yesterday. If he came out as harshly as he is against Facebook in support of the filibuster and putting pressure on Manchin, there's nothing you can say that would convince me that Manchin wouldn't eventually give in either to the carrots or to the sticks. We need the president to lean in. We need him to have a LBJ moment. Right now, he's failing. He's having what I call a Rutherford B. Hayes moment, who was the president who ended Reconstruction by pulling the troops out and basically said, black folks, you're on your own. That's what it feels like right now from the president, in spite of a passionate speech that he gave last week. We've got to see it backed up with him leaning in to modifying and carving out a filibuster. There aren't 10 Republicans, in spite of what Joe Manchin says. He keeps saying that they're there, but he never can show them to us because they don't exist.
All right, we don't believe you. You need more people. And look, black folks are disproportionately impacted by these policies. So I wonder if that's why there's some hesitancy to address how serious and dire the situation is. Representative Cotton, I want to ask you, after your meeting with Joe Manchin, he said that the subject of filibuster never came up. That baffles me. How, Sway? How did you all talk for that time and nobody ever brought up filibuster? Explain it to me.
Well, I want to be clear. I wasn't in that meeting, but I do know that no one wanted to go in on the attack. The reality is that we're asking for help. So going in, attacking someone isn't really probably the best strategy when you're trying to get somewhere. And my colleagues were trying to find out, where is the issue? Where is the rub? Why can't we get there? On one hand, I really do respect Manchin in the sense that he's basically saying, I really want things to be bipartisan. Honestly, I want things to be bipartisan as well. But that ain't where we are, right? Like that, the time of bipartisanship has gone astray. And so, these laws that are being passed in Georgia and Texas and Florida, they're not being passed in a bipartisan way. That tells you everything that you need to know. So why is it that we're requiring bipartisanship on the federal level? You know, people keep wondering what's so bad. Let me be clear. In the state of Texas, we can't even register to vote online. They were also trying to criminalize the very people that are responsible, those VDRs. They're trying to criminalize them and put them in jeopardy of going to jail as they're trying to effectuate their jobs to register the people to vote. Like, this is what we're seeing in Texas. They don't even want them signed up to vote, right? These are the types of things that we're dealing with, even though 36 states plus DC actually have online voter registration. We can't get a hearing for online voter registration in the state of Texas. So we are in dire straits. And so honestly, we would take anything at this point. And the problem is, it seems like there's just a deadlock. And I'm like, listen, figure it out. We've got to, you know, our session ends August 7th. Y'all need to do something by then.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved your point that, yeah, we all wish we could be bipartisan, but that ain't where we are. Words to really think about. Thank you so much, Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. You'll have to come back. I love the spirit you bring. And Cliff Albright, you're always amazing, and good luck with all the work you're doing on ground. And be sure to tune in Monday for an MSNBC special presentation with my friend and colleague, Jonathan Capehart, who will be speaking with the Texas Democrats who have come to Washington to push for voting rights. Battleground Democracy, the Texas Democrats, will air Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on MSNBC. You don't want to miss it. And coming up, we all know Trump wanted to hold on to power after he lost the election. Just how close was he to doing that? We'll discuss after the break. And later in the show, we'll have the latest on the Olympics. So don't go anywhere.